In tonight's Military Matters, we're learning more about the life-saving measures used to save Navy Chief Petty Officer Kenton Stacy's life after he was injured in an IED blast last November.
Stacy is in Houston right now at the spinal cord rehab program at Tier Memorial Hermann. Channel 6 military reporter Jillian Angeline has exclusive interviews with some of the medical professionals who helped save him downrange. Jillian.
Doug and Leslie, combat medical professionals tell me Stacy survived the unsurvivable. Colonel Jennifer Gurney was with Chief Petty Officer Stacy for 49 hours as he underwent multiple surgeries, and she made the one phone call she claims saved his life.
Kenton, if he wasn't a complete specimen of health before all this happened, he would have really unlikely survived all of his injuries.
Injuries so severe.
He lost about 6 inches of his trachea.
His lungs suffered severe damage from the force of the IED and blasted fragments.
If it had gone any more lateral, it would have decapitated him.
This according to Army Combat Surgeon Colonel Jennifer Gurney, but that's just a couple parts of the massive trauma he sustained to his spine, leg, and eyes too. Gurney remembers that day well.
I kept hearing that he was coding and not coding, and I thought, gosh, if he has a chance, if he can get here, I was just praying, like, I hope he can get to Baghdad. If he can make it to Baghdad, I think he's got a good chance.
In 43 hours, Kenton underwent about 13 surgeries.
So he had everything going against him in terms of getting oxygen to his other organs. The other organs, the brain, the heart, the kidneys, everything else, because his trachea was disrupted.
As soon as she saw the number, she walked out of the room and made the call to get the world-renowned burn flight team from San Antonio.
This was probably the game changer in Kenton's care.
The burn flight team has a heart-lung bypass machine called ECMO, which helped keep Stacy stable for the 31-hour trip back to the States.
Gurney? He said, is this Gurney? I said, yes. I said, I need ECMO in Baghdad, and I need it quick.
The Navy EOD tech processed more than 40 units of blood from the time of the injury to his U.S. return. Now, back in January, during his State of the Union, President Donald Trump recognized Staff Sergeant Justin Peck for bounding into the booby trap building and opening Stacy's airways, saying Stacy would have died if it weren't for Peck's quick action. Doug and Leslie, back to you.
In Military Matters, earlier this month, Channel 6 military reporter Jillian Angeline was embedded with Fort Hood's Grey Wolf team in Kuwait. Tonight, she gives us a look back at what the troops and others can do while they have downtime far from home.
This is Camp Buehring in Kuwait. While we may be in the Middle East geographically, this is basically a small U.S. city. Come along with me as I find out what the soldiers do when they're not training or supporting the mission in this small slice of America.
Let's first head to the USO. It may just seem like another large brown tent, but inside there's faster internet, TVs with the football games from the States, and rooms to build camaraderie. The troops can also connect with their families back home, especially the little ones.
And you know what the hat means, right? What does the hat mean? Tell me what the hat means. Yes. That means this is Dr. Seuss. If you like, you can go in an old blue shoe. Just go, go, go. Please do, do, do.
The recordings are then mailed back to the States.
The dining facility, or DFAC, here on Camp Buehring has theme nights, Mongolian Grill, Taco Tuesday, Wing Wednesday. But sometimes a soldier just wants a quick bite, like a Subway sandwich. Many soldiers tell me that they get more fit while they're on deployment, and this is why. When you're outside, this just looks like a regular tent. But walk on in, and there are hundreds of pieces of equipment like this lat pull. And this is one of the main ways soldiers kill time.
Helping the soldiers stay combat ready on and off the clock. Jillian Angeline, Channel 6 News.
Renewed sense of excitement in the search for famed pilot Amelia Earhart. A new picture released this week shows what looks like Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan on a dock in the Marshall Islands. Now, many are wondering if the two were taken into Japanese custody after their plane crashed in 1937 and possibly put on the island of Saipan. Well, our military reporter, Jillian Angeline, has spent the last 3 years living and reporting on Saipan. She spoke with some Pacific Island historians about this new photo. Jillian, what are they saying?
A new photo from the National Archives surfaces from 1937, taken on a dock on Jalawit Atoll in the Marshall Islands. You can see a white woman who some believe is Earhart, and a man who could be Fred Noonan, her navigator.
One of the very first stories that I ever heard when I came to the Saipan in the 1970s was a person claiming they had seen Amelia Earhart. So something that's in the consciousness of people here for a long, long time.
News director at local station KSPN2, history buff and longtime Saipan resident Bob Coldeen said anything is possible, but he doesn't think she could have even survived the plane crash, let alone made it to Saipan. He said there were many Europeans traveling in the Marshall Islands at that time, so the picture could be of a different man and woman. Exactly what well-respected Pacific Island author and historian Don Farrell told me.
Many European countries and the United States as well had become involved in business opportunities throughout Asia and the Pacific region.
Some believe that Earhart's plane crashed somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Others believe she survived the crash and spent her final days on Nikumuraru here. Some of these believers have devoted their life looking for her body in that area. The newly discovered picture was taken in the Marshall Islands on the Jaluit Atoll, right here, and if that proves to be true, it could change history and mean she was taken into Japanese custody and possibly put on the island of Saipan right here. And if that's true, it could change the theories for Farrell.
If somebody presented me some credible evidence, I would have to take another look at the subject.
Jillian Angeline, Channel 6 News.
Operation Spartan Shield aimed to train with regional partners here in the Middle East, and the soldiers used Abrams tanks like these to make it happen.
We're both a viable ally and a visible deterrent. So having a well-trained brigade here just helps to keep things calm, and then incredible reassurance for all of our partners in the Middle East.
Fort Hood troops trained in Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Egypt, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia. Grey Wolf soldiers like Staff Sergeant Menza Jediku got to see how medics do their job in UAE during the Iron Union training event.
They have a doctor and a nurse, so there was only 3 of them that are operating, while we had 7 individuals. They don't have the middle personnel to actually go and get the...
For many of the soldiers, it's their first deployment and first time out of the country. Lieutenant Colonel McCarthy says his soldiers became citizens of the world.
So it's all new to them. They have no preconceived notions to come in here.
It was especially a milestone for Grey Wolf troops as they trained in Egypt for Bright Star for the first time in 8 years. Jillian Angeline, Channel 6 News.